The story is told of a huge division. We're talking hundreds of people that were being laid off. And on the last day, the company provided the resources for a very large gathering so everyone could say farewell to their work colleagues and their friends. Obviously, a day of very high emotions. And at the beginning of the event, one of the vice presidents stood up to address the crowd and welcome them, and then said, "Before we proceed with our program, I would like to take just a few minutes to review last quarter's results." Was the crowd receptive? Not very. Was the timing good? Not in the least. One of the big levers that we have in the workplace is communication, specifically the timing of communication. Unfortunately, sometimes we treat items to be communicated as just packages that go one right after the other on a conveyor belt, and whenever they drop at the end is when they drop. Unfortunately, that does not leverage this question. When is our audience going to be the most receptive to the message? Now, to be sure, there are some items of communication that simply are urgent and have to be prioritized. For instance, fire in the building would be one of those things. But for many of the things that we communicate, we should maybe take a breath and step back and kind of contextually look at everything else that's going on and ask ourselves, when can I communicate this so that it will be heard with the most impact? When is receptivity going to be the greatest? For example, let's assume that you are about to introduce a big cultural change. Let's assume that it's a very positive cultural change. And then you look around and you realize that the entire team is obsessed with this 2-week project that they are in the middle of. There are even questions whether they can hit those deadlines with everyone working overtime, etc. Is this the right time to drop a message about cultural change? Are people really going to be able to listen? Are they going to be able to appreciate it? Or is it just another thing that has to be paid attention to? You would be much better off to wait. Wait until the big project is delivered, things settle down, and then you can deliver this positive news in a much more positive environment. Or let's assume that today is the day that you're going to give that valued associate their 1-year review. And when you walked in with them this morning, they were sneezing and wheezing because they have had the worst cold ever witnessed in the past 738 years. Is this the time that you want to give a review? No. You want to wait until they're better and they can hear with receptivity what you have to say, and you both can engage in a very active conversation. My personal story about the value of timing. I worked for a boss who was very precise, very consistent. In fact, I did a video about him and the value of consistency. And what I learned through observation is that this individual, first thing in the morning, was all about the business, looking at the sales results and figuring out the path forward. In the afternoon, when he had established his short and long-term strategies, he was much more relaxed. So how did that alter my communication with my boss? Well, first of all, in the morning, I let him alone so he could do his thing. And if I had something that needed to be communicated, I made sure it was of value to what he was doing. An observation about sales, for instance. The afternoon, however, was an entirely different thing. If I wanted to have a more philosophical discussion, a more longer range discussion, or just shoot the breeze about business, the afternoon was the time to do it because he was much more relaxed and consequently much more receptive. When we consider the very critical element of timing, in regards to communication, we should be prepared to answer two critical questions. How urgent is the communication? And when will the desired audience have the greatest receptivity? If we can adjust our timing so that people will hear optimally, they're going to be much more satisfied with the communication, and we will be much more satisfied with the results. If you like these videos, you can find more of them on YouTube by simply typing in the search at symbol Why People Hate Work. Please like this and please subscribe. Thank you.